evening and welcome. This is a special edition of the Newshour and the entire country is celebrating this evening. As news was given out by the Indian Army in a press conference this morning that India had carried out surgical strikes across the line of control in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. I have some more details of this operation. We're going to be talking about this. In all, 8 terror launch pads have been destroyed. At least 35 to 40 terrorists, that's the minimum number. At least 35 to 40 terrorists have been killed. The duration of the Indian surgical strikes is between 12 midnight last night and 4:30 this morning. The surgical strike teams were divided into 8 teams. They were spread over a total area of about 15 kilometers. The location was between 500 meters and 2 to 3 kilometers across into the LOC. The mortar move was divided into 2 parts, which was spread across an area of 2 to 50 kilometers. And mortar and heavy gun firing was done from a location in Uri to mislead the Pakistani army. This gave a lot of advantage to the Indian army. Most importantly, the areas which were targeted were Bhimbar, Hot Spring, Kel and Lipa sectors. We don't know the exact number of Indian army personnel who were part of this operation. Number of Air Force personnel were involved as well. Approximately 8 choppers are involved. That's a total of 100 to 150 personnel could have been involved in this. But most importantly, what these surgical strikes which we've carried out show is that there was a need for India to send a message across to Pakistan, and that message has gone across unambiguously now. As we look at the Pakistani responses, we find them confused. They are not sure whether to admit that there was a surgical strike. Nawaz Sharif says one thing, the ISI says another thing, and they've gone crying to America, which has sent them back. Now, we support the surgical strikes of the Indian Army for many reasons, but principally because for 11 days since the Uri attacks, India has waited for a diplomatic response from Pakistan that would indicate that it was mending its ways, but that never came. There were 20 infiltration attempts foiled by the Indian Army this year. Pakistan showed no signs of relenting. There were infiltration attempts yesterday and day before as well. And Pakistan, in fact, was violating the ceasefire across the LOC 3 times. No diplomatic channel, no attempt, no persuasion, no pressure tactic was working on them. And we here at Times Now support the surgical strikes because there are at the very least 17 terrorist camps operating in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir with the sole intention of pushing terrorists into India to carry out terror attacks. And it was high time that India acted on them. What we've sent out is a message today that we can destroy overnight 30% of these camps and even more. And if Pakistan were to continue to provoke, this method of surgical strikes is the only way to deal with them. Most importantly today, viewers, as you join this broadcast, please remember, we have called Pakistan's nuclear bluff. And the valor of the Indian Armed Forces, under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, has made it absolutely clear to the Pakistanis, we will get you in ways that you cannot imagine. Over the course of the next 4 hours on the Newshour this evening, as India strikes back, we analyze the decisive action. We're talking about the military and diplomatic, what we can expect on both fronts going forward. Pakistan is in a bind. It does not know how to respond to the present situation, whether to accept it or not. And at 10 p.m. tonight, of course, no more kid gloves. It's not hardline, it's about national interest. All this and more is coming up. And here are the headlines this very important Thursday evening on the Newshour tonight.
The Indian Army conducted surgical strikes last night. The operations were basically focused to ensure that these terrorists do not succeed in their design of infiltration.
8 terror launch pads destroyed, 35 to 40 terrorists killed across the border. The Indian Army teaches Pakistan a big lesson. Decisive military action sends the world a message on India's strong resolve against terrorism.
The country has conveyed to Pakistan that such actions will not be tolerated.
The Narendra Modi government walks the talk, puts an end to the hands-tied diplomacy. Strong political resolve makes Pakistan pay.
सुरक्षा के लिए, देश की एकता के लिए हमेशा हमारी फोर्सेस को सहयोग मिलता रहे।
Back home, all political parties give up their differences to back the government's action against the Pakistani terrorists. Midnight surgical strike rattles Islamabad like never before, while one Sharif admits it, the other calls it a lie. And they went crying to America. They were sent back. The State Department makes it clear to Pakistan, mend your own ways first.
This is Times Now, Super Prime Time. And you're watching the Newshour Special Edition with Arnab Goswami.
I'd like to first introduce my guest this evening before I go across to our first news report. And on the panel this evening, we have Nalin Kohli, spokesperson of the BJP, General VP Malik, former Chief of Army Staff. We have Tariq Fateh will be joining us here in the studios. Maruf Raza, Times Now's consulting editor, has the inside track of what's been going on. Parthasarathy, former High Commissioner to Pakistan. G.J. Singh, defense analyst. G.D. Bakshi will be joining us from Ajmer. And Colonel Lalit Rai is former commanding officer of the Gorkha Rifles for the Kargil War. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Now, this morning, we were told at about 11:30 that there was a press conference of the DGMO. It was apparent at that point of time that there was something important which would be revealed. The press conference actually started a little after 12 o'clock, which is when the news was sent out to the world that India had finally conducted precision surgical military strikes on Pakistan.
Based on very specific and credible information which we received yesterday, that some terrorist teams had positioned themselves at launch pads along the line of control with an aim to carry out infiltration and terrorist strikes in Jammu and Kashmir and various other metros in our country. The Indian Army conducted surgical strikes last night at these launch pads. During these counter-terrorist operations, significant casualties have been caused to the terrorists and those who are trying to support them. The operations aimed at neutralizing the terrorists have since ceased. We do not have any plans for further continuation of the operations. However, the Indian Armed Forces are fully prepared for any contingency that may arise. I have just spoken to the Pakistani Director General of Military Operations and explained our concerns and also shared with him the operations we had conducted last night. It is India's intention to maintain peace and tranquility in the region, but we can certainly not allow the terrorists to operate across the line of control with impunity and attack the citizens of our country.
You're watching the Newshour Special Edition, debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
With full details of the operation, first Shaman has more details of the operation, how it was carried out, the duration of the operation, how many teams were involved out here, the location, and how the Indian Army actually conducted it successfully in the space of only about 4 to 5 hours, less than 5 hours in fact, maximum 4.5 hours. Shaman, tell us all the details, describe the operation for us, which various sources are telling you today.
Well, a lot of top sources now within the army telling us, as far as this particular operation is concerned, we're given to understand that it started around 12:30 in the morning and continued till 4:30. This was roughly about 4 hours that we're given to understand that the operation was carried out. But remember, what is important to know, the final note basically coming in from the Prime Minister's office only on Wednesday afternoon. We are being told that there were several briefings that actually took place in the Northern Command itself before the final decision was actually taken. The soldiers were given one single brief, that the brief was go shoot and kill, do not leave behind any of your injured buddies. Now that was the message that was given to the soldiers. As far as the para ops are concerned, we are being given to understand that roughly about 150 were part of this entire operation. They were basically divided into 3 teams that we are given to understand. There was an opening fire which started somewhere in the same location in Uri where this particular attack took place. Now this was essentially a cover that was basically provided so that our troops could basically move in, sneak in from the pre-decided locations. Now, this is what we are essentially being told. Now, they had already identified these terrorist camps. There were about 7 terrorist launch pads that we have given to understand, spread across about 5 different locations. The arc of operation was about 250 kilometers, what we are given to understand. And as soon as the go-ahead was given, we are being told that they were also armed with basically UAVs, which were providing live footage to the Northern Command as well as the tactical areas as far as the tactical army headquarters is concerned. 3 locations, we are being told, in Kupwara, Punj, where this live footage was actually being provided.
So you were actually saying that while this entire operation was carrying out, the Indian Army was actually monitoring, getting video footage of that. Very, very sophisticated there, Maruf. Now, this really tells you about a tremendous degree of coordination. You've been also getting some unofficial briefings, official briefings, of course, and you can tell us more about how this whole operation was carried out. Who were those who were involved? Who were the platoon of paras who were involved? How many people in all were involved? And personally, you know, Pakistan is playing down the numbers of casualties on its side. Obviously, it would be much, much higher. What details do you have, Maruf?
Arnab, the first thing is there are 2 parachute regiment special forces units that are stationed in J&K and they operate, whereas other units of the parachute regiment, there are many other special forces units, also come into J&K from time to time for attachment and understanding the nature of the operations, because we have 4 specialized zones in which our special forces operate: mountain, jungle, desert, and in urban areas and counter-terrorism. So they all share information. So my understanding is this was a parachute regiment special forces unit, possibly 2 units, both of them, I don't want to take their numbers. The second thing is there was infantry elements involved, there was intelligence elements involved, there was monitoring done by certain technical specialists of the Northern Command. The Air Force did provide a certain amount of movement, but my understanding is this movement was done of moving troops from their current locations where they are placed, sometimes quite far from the LOC, because they are not put on the front line all the time. They are only moved there as and when operations require. That movement may have happened 24 hours earlier, waiting to be launched. The launch would have happened on foot. Exit would have again happened on foot, but the moment they would have got out close to the LOC, the helicopters would have picked them up. The total number of troops involved, it would be, each team would be, to my mind, 15 or 16, because that is the carrying capacity of the Mi-8s and Mi-17s, which normally ferry the specialized troops of our army. The other point to understand is the operations are very clearly focused on need to know and need to kill bases. They did not go in purely to create havoc out there. This was very specifically monitored on intelligence, and hits were made largely on non-army personnel to convey to the Pakistan Army, as the DGMO said, that we want to share information with you, therefore put the ball back into the Pakistan Army DGMO's court, that listen, we can both fight terror together, we are giving you an exit window from this embarrassing situation. The other point to understand is that this is a catch-22 situation for the Pakistan Army. If they act now against India, they are doomed. If they don't act against India, they are damned. So they have to take a call, which way do they want to be. I think good sense will prevail on the Pakistan Army, that they will try and distance themselves from this operation, because they will probably be wary of the capacity of the Indian Army to inflict much more lethal damage. And let me tell you, this is the tip of the iceberg. What the army is capable of doing, and what you also saw in the Kargil conflict, the Indian Army's capacity is 50 times that. So Pakistan knows that. They are spread all over the place in Pakistan. They are distracted on the AFPAC region. This is a lot of bluff and bluster. They don't have the capacity to take on the Indian Army's lethal might, even if they increase the firing on the LSE as retaliation, because the LC firing, we can fire so much more that they won't be able to put their head out of their trenches for the next 1 week. Okay, so now clearly it's a very, very dominating situation. It is a military. But having said that, let me just put one caveat to it. I think we should take it with soberness and we should take it with dignity, because we are a powerful country. We have shown both at Myanmar and here that we can do it if we have the political resolve. And after long, and this is the first time I know in the last 26 years, we've got the political go-ahead. So kudos to the Modi government.
Absolutely. When we're getting details of the surgical strike itself, like to take that off General General Ved Malik. General Malik, I'm hearing here that the platoon of paras which went well into POK. Target were initially several launching pads into POK, which were around 2 to 3 kilometers. There were, we are told, 10 to 12 Pakistan army men on each side. Now, the paras would have eliminated them as well. Why then is Nawaz Sharif trying to fool his own people by saying that only 2 Pakistan army personnel would have been casualties in this, whereas the basic information we are getting here is that there were at least 8 to 10 Pakistan army personnel who were neutralized, and the death toll inflicted by the Indian paras is not clear because they have used volleys from grenade launchers, flamethrowers, etc. So the death toll on the Pakistani side could be much, much greater than what is officially being put out. Will they be able to hide this casualty figure for long, General Malik?
Arnab, firstly, I must mention here that this, as you said yourself, we felt that enough was enough. This terror war against us has been going on for a very long time, and in the recent months they had escalated it, they had intensified it, and therefore there was a need for us to take some initiative of this nature, and that is what has happened. Now, I do not want to go into technical details, but I personally feel it was a very well calibrated, it was a totally legitimate action that we took, and we hit those launch sites about which we had some information earlier, but the last minute 3-4 days information that we got, that also got built into that. I must tell you that we do have contingency plans, but earlier we did not get the political okay for it. This time when we got it, we were ready, and our people, they were able to refine their operational plan, and that is how we were able to launch it. But having given full credit to the units which have gone across, which have inflicted casualties and come away without any harm to themselves, I must also say that this should be seen not as only a military operation. It was very well coordinated with our diplomacy, with our other activities that have been taking place. Now, the timing was perfect. We could not have taken this action a few days earlier because the UN General Assembly was in session, and our own foreign minister was speaking there.
Right, that's right.
When we got the chance, when we had the occasion, we achieved the surprise, and we were able to inflict the casualties. Now, as far as the Pakistani side is concerned, I don't think we should really...
No, the point is you can coordinate everyone when you have military, you have a military diplomatic infrastructure to give it back to the Pakistanis, but you need, at one point, you need a strong political will. And that is what was missing, General Malik. Let's not beat around the bush. The political will was missing earlier. Now we need to have a consensus behind it. And that national consensus is of paramount importance now, because it was the armed forces who lost 18 soldiers in Uri. It is the armed forces who have suffered as many as 3,370 casualties since Kargil in the hands of the terrorists. And it is the armed forces today who have managed to penetrate into Pakistan-occupied Kashmir to dismantle 8 terror camps. As I've been saying, it's a day to celebrate and to congratulate each other. Nalin Kohli, what was the thinking behind it? Now that you are... you're getting a sense of how the government is also looking at it. A fair amount of political consensus has emerged. If you look at the 4 o'clock meeting, every political party came out and said that we support the Narendra Modi government in this. Consensus is the need of the hour. We have it now behind us. How do we capitalize on the present situation? And what is the plan of the government going forward? Nalin Kohli. Nalin Kohli, please.
Mr. Goswami, I'll try to answer this. There's a little bit of disturbance in my audio, but I broadly understood what the direction of your question is. I think the first thing is we need to recognize and compliment our security forces for the successful operation that they've undertaken today. It's an important operation because it's an anti-terror operation. They've gone in, they've done their job, they've come out safe, and they've prevented what could have been a catastrophe. Because imagine if, 40 terrorists minimum moved into Jammu and Kashmir and other parts of the country. They could have wreaked mayhem. And therefore, this was an important anti-terrorist operation. Our political leadership also has to be complimented in terms of the government for taking the decision, and in terms of the political parties that have stood solidly behind our government and the armed forces in national interest and for our sovereignty. What's important is that I think that this is a message that we are not going to take terrorism lying down. It's a global problem. The dots of terrorism link up. And therefore, those who are interested in eliminating the scourge of terror have to cooperate. We have to fight our own battles. Some of the regional countries like Bangladesh and all are immediately recognizing that such kind of things might be required to deal with terror. And when Pakistan has made a commitment in 2004 January in the Lahore Declaration that they will not use any of their territory or the territory under their control for any kind of operations against India in terms of terrorists and all that, they should come good on that.
No,
so
but
I think this is a great opportunity for Pakistan.
But Nalin, when we talk about a consensus, the consensus is to be built now nationally on how to deal with all circumstances, including those people, you know, who bring in Jammu and Kashmir and the whole issue of Kashmir in the context of what's going on with terrorism emanating from Pakistan. We just have a statement here, and I'd like to get G. Parthasarathy to react to that. I have a statement just came in, which I've just received here, the statement of Pakistan Prime Minister Mohammad Nawaz Sharif, who says, in the wake of the unprovoked aggression of the Indian security forces along the line of control and the deteriorating situation in Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, that's his definition, of course, he doesn't know where is what. Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif has decided to, one, convene a cabinet meeting on Friday where the deteriorating situation in Jammu and Kashmir will be the top agenda. So they are not talking, I mean, they are so flabbergasted with the speed, the pace and the nature of the Indian response that they're going back to the Jammu and Kashmir issue. And then he goes on, point number 2, he says, we will have a meeting on Tuesday of the National Security Committee with special invitation to all chief ministers to deliberate at length the emerging scenario along the line of control and brutal state oppression in Kashmir. Again brings up the point of Kashmir. It appears to me, and you know Nawaz Sharif better than most, that Nawaz Sharif is really, struggling with himself to give an explanation to his own people and realizing that his lie has been caught, his nuclear bluff has been caught. He's trying to get more people along with him in these meetings so as to spread the responsibility. Point number 3, he says we are going to have a joint session of the parliament to reaffirm the national resolve to safeguard the sovereignty of the motherland. And point number 4, he says, once again, no power in the world can deter us from supporting our Kashmiri brethren. So they're obviously going to try harder with the Hurriyat, their paid agents. And finally say, we are still proud of our armed forces, which is a great force, etc., etc. Signed Prime Minister Mohammad Nawaz Sharif. G. Parthasarathy, I'll just send this across to you as well. What do you make of this press release or statement or whatever you call it coming in from Nawaz Sharif?
Well, one explanation would be he is delusional.
Yeah.
But I think the more serious explanation lies in one fact.
Yeah.
He went to New York thinking he would make a great impression.
Yeah.
And the army carried it out when he was heading for New York, this Operation Uri. And that has been a disaster. Now, he doesn't know how to recover from it because he doesn't know what the army is going to do next. So, what does he do? He goes back to, he cannot admit that he's, as a Prime Minister, his army chief is making him a joke. And he has no authority, and therefore he does all these silly things. Only yesterday I think he met the army chief, again all bluff and bluster. So the fact of the matter is, he has been shocked and caught by surprise, because we have done something we have never done before. General Malvik will remember when we worked together on Kargil, he had very, very strict instructions not to cross the line of control. So did the Air Force. And therefore they expect similar behavior, but we have behaved dissimilarly in a different situation. And that they hadn't expected. This is a dysfunctional setup which is run by people, the army, with power and authority, but no constitutional responsibility.
Precisely.
They get into a military operation and make 800,000 Pashtuns homeless. And without consulting the government.
If you were to see today, I was observing the kind of narrative that Pakistani channels were carrying out, Mr. Parthasarathy. One word which came out constantly, and I want to share this with you, Tariq Fateh, the one word which almost all Pakistani anchors, television analysts, defense analysts, dictators, potential dictators, etc., were all saying today was, they said Narendra Modi has ruined the soft image of the Indian state. This is what was being actually said. So Nalin Kohli, it was tough to believe at one point of time. All the Pakistani analysts were saying India was a nice and soft state. And Narendra Modi has single-handedly ruined the soft image of the Indian state. I think that reveals a lot out there. Tariq Fateh comes in first. Nalin, I see your hand go up there. Because I think that relates to the point which Mr. Parthasarathy said, that they did not expect us to do something like this. we have actually moved away from the own standards that we've set of ourselves of tremendous degree of tolerance. Tariq Fateh, as an observer, your views.
There's a contrast between the two countries that's very vivid. On one side, you have the Indian military showing that it is responsible to a constitutional civilian authority.
Absolutely.
And holding fire when it is told, and going ahead when it is not. On the other side, you have a constitutionally violating military running a country illegally to escape the Kerry-Lugar bill, which means if a military takes over, all funding of Pakistan ends from the United States. And a prime minister who recognizes that he has absolute no power, yet he's acting as if kids are playing dollhouse, you know. He's just playing toy soldiers. He's got G.I. Joes, he's putting them around, and he's calling a cabinet.
The message is not lost. There are implications of this, Tariq Fateh, and I think that's the point which Nalin Kohli wanted to come in. The implications are, and Maruf, I'm coming to you, GJ, I'm coming to you in a minute, I see your hand go up there. We have the time, we're going to analyze this once again. To all the people of India, congratulations, day to celebrate, also a day to watch out for what the Pakistanis can do. But what we've said basically is that we are fully capable of responding militarily to Pakistani aggression at a time and place of our choosing, because we said we would, and we don't care about this whole apparent zero-sum game that we are both nuclear powers. So we have exercised the method of surgical strikes, and in the process have actually, you know, neutralized their nuclear bluff. Nalin Kohli is coming in. Sorry to keep you waiting. Colonel Lalit Rai coming to you as well after that. Nalin.
3 comments, Mr. Goswami.
Yeah.
First of all, I think it's not a question of a hard or a weak state, hard or a soft state. India is a humane, a compassionate, but not weak democracy.
That's right.
I think that's the point to build on what Tariq ji is saying. The second point is, we need to now understand the government is now defining, we can have a comprehensive relationship or we will have a comprehensive response. This is not going to be business as usual with Pakistan, that they can continue saying what they want, pretend everything is okay, and keep conducting terrorism and terrorism operations against us through their soil. So I think it's a comprehensive approach, because you could see what has been happening over the last 10 days. What is this particular surgical strike is one of those things that's happened after a series of deliberations at the highest level. After the Prime Minister said it won't go unpunished. So it's a comprehensive assessment, evaluation, and a comprehensive response. In the and my third comment is, with regard to Pakistan, this is not an anti-Pakistan surgical strike. It is clearly, unequivocally a surgical anti-terrorism strike. So if Pakistan wants to walk the talk of what it keeps saying they are victims of terrorism,
absolutely.
They should welcome it, they should join hands, and we should all eliminate terrorism.
No, I think we are sending an unambiguous message, because when Myanmar happened, I think Pakistan immediately responded at that point of time by saying, oh, we are not Myanmar, we are no pushover. What we've said right now is that whether it's Myanmar or Pakistan, there are limits to Indian patience. What we are saying basically is that we cannot be forced to restrain ourselves every time when you are constantly provoking us, and hence, fact of the matter is, days of patience and restraint are over. This government will walk the talk and then will exercise both diplomatic and military maneuvers to isolate you. Colonel Lalit Rai, you fought the Kargil War, you're former commanding officer of the Gurkha Rifles. Welcome. First of all, your reactions as someone who, who's a Kargil War veteran. How do you feel about what's happened? And also the nature of the strike. I mean, I found it very impressive to hear that this was actually being monitored. You were getting a full television feed of what was going on. It sounds really like a sci-fi film. Colonel Lalit Rai, but it's actually happening, which shows the competence and the professionalism and sophistication of the Indian Armed Forces. Colonel Rai.
Absolutely, Arnab. Firstly, a big salute to my brother officers who have carried out this fantastic action across the line of control. And secondly, for the first time, as a soldier who has fought the war, I feel heartened to see that our political leadership, they speak as one today. The diplomats are also speaking the same language. And when we have the leadership and the diplomats talking the same language and backing the army fully, giving us a full mandate for the action, the army is there. They can deliver, like I've always said before. Now, one thing I liked best about what the DGMO said was, he said, based on credible information and intelligence, this operation was carried out. And we limited it to the terrorist camps, came back, no collateral damage. And the last and the best part that he said was that he contacted the DGMO of Pakistan and he solicited their cooperation. Because after all, their stand is that they're also fighting terrorism and we are helping them out of there.
Yeah.
Because they can't do it in their own place, so we are helping them over there. So that was the best part of the whole operation over there. And now coming to the retaliation part of it, I was having a hearty laugh about that retaliation that they would do and things like that. Retaliate against what? We had a target, the terrorist camp, we finished it. We don't have any terrorist camps here. What are they going to retaliate against? I don't know. And if they want to come and hit the army, the military bases, we are prepared. We'll give them a nice sock on the face and send them back with a bleeding nose. There's no problem. We have fought the Kargil war against most heavy of odds, against weather, against terrain, against these guys sitting down and dominating positions, and yet we got them. And General Malik is here, who was my chief at that point of time, and I'm so proud to be on the same panel here tonight. He gave me a bottle of scotch for doing what we thought was something impossible. Going up those heights of 18,000 feet above sea level, minus 32 degrees Celsius of temperature, freezing. And with my battalion, we went up that Haluba ridgeline and we demolished the enemy completely over there. And we were the first ones to send them packing across the line of control.
That's the spirit, Colonel Rai. Big smile is there on General Malik's face, by the way. I'm sure he remembers those memories, and that's the camaraderie of the forces which is showing in this moment. Maruf also smiling at that moment. GJ, you wanted to come in. Look at the straightforward confidence today, which is...
Arnab, I want to add here, I'm very, very proud of my colleague who's been... I'm very proud of my colleague who has just now spoken. Lalit Roy, I remember him very fondly, and my salute to him.
Another bottle of scotch, sir? Tariq Fateh asked whether there's going to be another bottle of scotch at that. Now, what people are celebrating about, Maruf, GJ, look at that moment. Look at the supreme confidence today of our forces, GJ. A comment from you on that. No prevarication. Every single member of the Indian Army who we've been speaking to since morning says, you want to threaten us, bring it on. In that confidence, I find a freedom, a resolve, that comes out of the fact that the political leadership of the country is 1,000% committed to defending every army officer, armed forces personnel. I know that confidence exists when we hear people like Maruf Raza on the channel very often. When GJ, we talk to you. But today we hear this, it's become infectious almost when Lalit Rai says, you know, what do you think they're going to target? We don't run terrorist camps here, our hearts are clean. You're the ones with the terrorist camps. You want to attack our forces? Bring it on. We'll give you a bloody nose back. I'm sensing today that renewed confidence and vigor in the Indian Armed Forces personnel because of the confidence that the political leadership is behind them. Every single political party is behind them. Every officer who has come today on the program has spoken about how they are so happy that the whole political establishment of the country is behind them. Makes a world of difference, doesn't it, GJ? Makes a world of difference.
Of course, Arnab, this has been the most unexpected military operation which has given surprise to the whole world. And it has proven today to the Americans and to Pakistanis in particular that if required, India can take a military action on its own steam. When required, it was a power projection of the muscle and might of Indian Army that it has the ability to punish the enemy at will and at a place and time of its choosing and tear the arm of its, arm by the crown of its head. It was something which has recharged the whole nation, that it is out here now that with Prime Minister Modi as the political head, when every diplomat, every bureaucrat, every general has had their say on the table of the Prime Minister, the final green flag is shown by the Prime Minister. And it is the Prime Minister's, determination and resolve. And in fact, I was reading all along when he was speaking at Kozhikode, his expressions, his language, his, body language was very clear that he's determined to do something unusual, something which will surprise the whole world. And here he has done by showing the green flag, the green signal to the Indian Army that yes, you go ahead, cross the LOC and punish the enemy. And this has brought a new, I would say, energy and refreshment to the whole nation's, spirits.
Maruf, some details coming in from Srinjoy talking to his sources is that he says no choppers used. Total number, we're told 150, could be 200 soldiers, 8 camps, right? Decision was to go with a ground up, was taken last week, taken at the highest level of the CCS, and agreed in principle. So, quick comment from you on the number. So, people watching this broadcast today will say, Maruf, 150 to 200 Indian soldiers brought you to the ground. Inflicted heavy casualties, because I don't believe the numbers that Nawaz Sharif is putting out, and I'm sure you are also aware that the numbers are far more diminished and played down for the Pakistani side. Just less than 200 Indian soldiers could carry out an operation of such sophistication. First, your comments on that. First, your comments on that part, and then, of course, I want you to talk about what happens to the soldier when he has such tremendous political will backing him so selflessly for once. Maruf, on both these points, please.
Arnab, thanks. As I said earlier, that I was quite certain that choppers would not have crossed the LOC because that lends it a slightly different dimension. They would have ferried troops from their KLP, that is key locations, and taken them close to somewhere near the LOC where they would have been ready to go in. And basically all these special ops are about infiltrate, hit the target, exfiltrate. Largely, these operations are designed to be over in less than 8 hours or more, mostly carried out infiltration after last light, exfiltrate back, having completed the mission by first light, which means leave after 7 in the evening, get back before 5 in the morning. So this pattern of the attack that you were saying, midnight till 4, fits into that pattern. And that is the time when the enemy's guard is at its lowest. The second thing is 150 plus soldiers. As I said, if there were 8 teams, make the teams into about 12 to 15 or thereabouts, and you'll get the figure more or less close to what would have happened in the operations. However, the level of damage that Pakistan's jihadi groups would have suffered would have been far in excess of the number of our troops that have gone in. So this figure, paltry figure of 25, 30, 35 that is being given, it is a face-saving figure. It is much larger, I'm pretty certain. The next point to understand is that as far as these operations are concerned, the LOC is a politico-military boundary. Pakistan went out to challenge its sanctity in Kargil, and they got a smack on their face where they were told that this must be accepted, as Mr. Parthasarathy has defined, that by Mr. Vajpayee said that do not cross it. But I think for too long, Pakistan has abandoned that principle of honoring the LOC. The most important thing, Arnab, and I want to emphasize that, Colonel Lalit Rai has spoken about it, General Malik, who I have great respect for, has also spoken about it, that there is a covenant between a soldier and his statesman. The soldier says, I shall lay down my life in the line of duty, provided you give me the leadership that I expect. So if you can give the soldier his leadership, I am very proud today to say that I belong to the Indian Army, where our soldiers have exhibited again and again that they are the best in the world, and they've done it today. Well done.
Absolutely, Maruf. Absolutely, Maruf. The whole country is with you when you say that here today. I'm getting a few more details. I'd like to take this across. We are told now, Maruf, that the Pakistan Army sent special forces to the location where we struck them mercilessly, and they sent 2 full trucks of personnel. That means our brave soldiers went on the other side, tackled these terrorists, tackled the Pakistani army who were with them, and tackled the 2 trucks full of Pakistan Army Special Forces personnel, repelled them and came back without a single casualty. Now that is supreme professionalism, Maruf. These are the details which we are getting right now. Besides which, we are also getting some details that some of these Fidain squads which were neutralized in several camps, they were in such panic that they started blowing themselves up. And one Fidain blew himself up, killing many of the other terrorists who were there with him. So they really were totally stunned, Maruf, with the nature of the response.
Absolutely. Arnab, the biggest advantage of Special Forces operations is 2 or 3. One is surprise. We had surprise in our side. The second thing is the level of training. And believe me, I have seen these Special Forces guys. I've had the privilege to train with some of them, and some of them are, from my generation, are very good friends. Believe me, they are tough as nails. And the third thing is that when there is a very clear diktat given to them that this is your operational mandate, these are your terms of reference, they have exhibited there in Special Forces competitions all over the world, from the UK to Rwanda. They have excelled again and again. The problem is that we don't know enough about the capabilities of our own soldiers. From World War I to now, with the exception of the humiliation of '62 when politicians took it upon themselves to fight the war and our generals abandoned responsibility, our soldiers have delivered again and again. And the most important thing about our army is we fight by the rules. We do not fight like an army of marauders and rogues that the Pakistan army has begun, which not only controls politicians, but has begun to control the people's minds in Pakistan. That is the dividing line between where they stand and where our forces stand.
Well, as I see details of this operation, I must also ask you here, Colonel Rai, I'm sure that this becomes at some point almost contagious. What would a successful operation like this have on the morale of the forces?
It's definitely, Arnab, it's a tremendous morale booster. Even a small success makes a lot of difference. But beyond that, I think the bonding between the soldiers, the officers class, we are like a band of brothers. And even when we walk into a minefield, we do so without any fear, because we know that even if I am blown by a mine, my boy will pull me back. He'll evacuate me from there. That is the tremendous amount of faith that we have. And as far as the Pakistani army, their discipline and other aspects are concerned, let me also share with you, during the Kargil war and before, when Saurav Kalia's patrol was ambushed and they were captured, their bodies were mutilated so badly and vulgarly. On the other hand, when we had these people dead over there, what we taught our soldiers is that, look, the enemy is your enemy till such time he is fighting. But once he is dead, remember he too is a soldier, and give him the full soldier's respect. And that's what we did. And that is the difference between the Pakistan army and our army. And that is what makes us a much more superior army than theirs.
Tariq Fateh, what impact would this have on the people of Pakistan watching this? Because, I saw the commentaries today, they're stunned. Their media is stunned. Their army is stunned, their establishment is stunned, they're trying to play down what happened. Will they be able to hide it? Is there not going to be a serious questioning that happens within Pakistan on whether they need to, deal with the Narendra Modi government differently? This is not the Manmohan Singh government, to put it very clearly. Do they get the message?
It depends what Pakistan you're talking about. The Punjabi Muslim establishment is not going to get any message, because they are blindfolded, brainwashed, they don't have an identity. They have nothing. They don't respect themselves. They don't respect anyone else. They'll believe what General Sharif tells them. You talk about the
General Sharif will feed them any story. Will they believe that concocted story? Will they believe that this actually never happened? Because that's what the Pakistani army is trying to make us believe. G. Parthasarathy wanted to come in. 1 second. Yes, Mr. Parthasarathy. How is this going to be received? Coming back to you.
I would like to endorse what Tariq Fateh says. The Pakistani Punjabi is weird. First, he butchered Bangladeshis. Now he is killing Pathans and Baluch.
Arnab, I want to come in.
And taking on an operation
Arnab.
in
coming to you.
I mean, it's astonishing that the dominant part of the Pakistan military behave in a very debased manner, whether it's Bangladesh and inside their own country. So why should you expect them to do any better when it comes to facing?
No, I'm saying, would there be a recognition that they're dealing with a different country? Because every time you do something like this, see, if you're looking at the response out here, they're saying we'll call a special meeting of all chief ministers in of provinces. We're going to have a special meeting.
There's nothing there. They will be eating biryani that doesn't matter.
But I don't understand this. If you say on the one hand nothing happened and the Indian government is lying and the Narendra Modi government is lying and we were never attacked, there was no surgical strike by the Indian army at all, then what are you reacting to? What are you overreacting to? What are they going to tell their own people?
Nothing.
What do you mean nothing?
They exploit their own people. They use them at troops. There are Pakistani units that don't have soldiers because the colonels are taking their salaries. You don't know what a corrupt system you're dealing with. There's
surely some explanation, Tariq Fateh. I mean,
what? The general will go and start running a cereal factory, or he'll retire to get into a washing machine.
Well, the Indian army enters Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, eliminates at least 9 Pakistan army personnel and 35 to 40.
They won't believe it.
How much will they lie on? How much will they hide?
Still believe 1965 Pakistan defeated India. You're talking a PhD.
I think they'd be pinching themselves to believe that we didn't get Narendra Modi quite clearly when he allowed the Indian army to go inside Myanmar. They'd be pinching themselves to believe, and I think they're going to be nervous.
They'll only be nervous. I think the day you get Sayyid Salahuddin and send a hitman, get him, show his body, and dump him in the...
Jal Malik want to come in. Jal Malik.
Yeah, I want to... You know what Nawaz Sharif is doing? Really, it doesn't make any difference because the whole thing is being driven by Rahil Sharif. And a new angle is that Rahil Sharif in the next 2 to 3 months is going to retire. So it's going to have an impact on him. What is going on in his mind is more important at the moment. Is he going to strike? Is he not going to strike? Is he going to just give up and retire peacefully? I'm not too sure about it. So at the moment, let's not worry too much about what Nawaz Sharif is doing, but we should be thinking in terms of what Rahil Sharif, what in his mind is going on.
Well, that's
may I add one thing?
Yes, please, Partha. Yes, Partha. Yes, Partha.
I want to say one thing, that don't forget, Rahil Sharif is an extremely ambitious man. Yes. He has undertaken operations in Pakistan without cabinet approval or parliamentary approval. And worse still, he has lost an uncle in 1965, a brother in 1971. So towards India, there is an obsession as far as he is concerned. Yes. And yes, he is retiring, and he is going to retire in dishonor. So we had better be careful till November when he retires.
Well, I mean, I'd like to get Maruf in also on that. Maruf, okay, GJ.
It's not only that. I would like to point out the mentality of the Punjabis, like Tariq Fateh has pointed out. See, it is callous, it is boorish. They want to do what they feel like, but they forget that today the situation in India is completely changed. It's a different political, class which is ruling the country, and they have misread altogether. And the very fact that they have gone into damage control of their image at home. A few hours back, a few days back, they were, shooting the breeze by telling that we will take care of India in case it attacks us. We have got the nuclear weapons and we have got the Ghaznis and Gauris. Now, not only that, they shook the whole of their, Islamabad, Aam Aadmi population by carrying out those low-level F-16
yes, GJ.
And scaring the people that we are very strong. But now everything is deflated. And this shows that they're into a total
No, but they're going to be in a tizzy. GJ.
Shaken up their
GJ, believe me, they're going to be in a tizzy. Maruf, who's here today, and Nalin Kohli, who's been here today, know. Nalin, you know that very often, on many occasions, Maruf has himself in the past been almost restless, and so have I, about what the strategic position of the present government is, right? And whether they are willing to go as far as they need to with the terror state of Pakistan. But Maruf, today you would agree that while Manmohan Singh said after the Poonch attacks it won't be, remember those words, Maruf, won't be business as usual, right, when 5 of our soldiers were killed in Poonch, it is Narendra Modi who has ensured that New Delhi has shaken out of this mute spectator syndrome that it's been sitting in for the last 1 decade.
Right.
There is a conscious strategic shift, and I feel it's an inflection point, Maruf. I don't know how you see it. When a country makes a change to this degree, there's no looking back. Yes, Maruf.
Based on your question, I want to make 3 quick points. First is, as Mr. Parthasarathy rightly said, that Raheel Sharif has a personal agenda against India. You know, his elder brother, who died as a major in the earlier war, was given Pakistan's Nishan-e-Haider, which is their highest award. So we have had a similar case in the Indian Army, only that chief of the Indian Army didn't have a personal agenda against Pakistan. His elder brother was the first recipient of the PVC. So we have a man leading the Pakistan Army who is going to do what he can to avenge his brother and his family's defeat at the hands of India. Secondly, the most important thing is, go back to Christine Fair's book and analysis. Pakistan will lose every conflict against India, but they will not admit defeat. Admitting defeat is defeat for them, not losing the conflict. So be prepared for more nuisance coming from Pakistan as the situation begins to unravel further. And finally, and most importantly, please understand, Pakistan's army's entire image in Pakistan has been based on their controlled propaganda, which is an arm of the ISI called ISPR. They control the image of the Pakistan army. They have fed people the entire thesis that they are the guardians of the state of Pakistan. So therefore, they're going to do everything to try and live up to that narrative. But the central problem is that while Pakistan likes to and tries to punch above its weight, until now, India was punching below its weight. And I'm glad India has finally decided to call their bluff, just like Mrs. Gandhi took it upon herself to call their bluff in 1971. And as we have shown again and again, that when we get the political courage to do it, like the nuclear test, the world begins to respect us more. And there are naysayers in India who will keep giving you the dovish line, but quite frankly, I don't give a damn about that.
The dovish line is the thing of the past, Maruf. Well said. We don't give a damn about that anyway, because the people of this country don't give a damn about it. Nalin Kohli, last word out here. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has executed action. You have the entire political leadership behind you. You have the people of the country backing you right now. There is a tremendous amount of consensus and goodwill that is building up, and across India, all people are celebrating. We need to capitalize on it, and as I've always said, Nalin Kohli, build on the momentum. Don't lose the momentum. Pulverize them. You've taken a decisive action. How are you going to make sure that diplomatically you have a greater counter-offensive than the Pakistanis want to bring on the table now, playing victim?
Well, what the people of India, what they are thinking, if you just look at the number of tweets you've got in the last hour or so, has crossed 50,000. That's quite a large number of tweets. People are involved, people are watching, and I'm sure that a lot of discourse is taking place in the national scene. That's one part. I think diplomatically, I'm sure Mr. Parthasarathy would add more to it. But today there was a briefing of, I think, some 30 envoys called by the Foreign Secretary. I think I'm sure that, telephone lines had been burning. Because if you would see what the government of India did and Prime Minister Modi's office did, first worked out everything with, those who matter in the government and who would need to know on such a thing. The go-ahead was given. And then there was this whole preparation in terms of what has to be done thereafter. So I think diplomatically, what are the steps? That's part of that comprehensive response that I was talking about. That it's not this one at a time. I think it's a comprehensive approach. Blood and water can't run together. Cooperation and terrorism can't walk hand in hand. So and today, surgical strikes against terrorists who are with credible information who would attack Indian interests. But at the end of it, in this, at least this hour of news hour, I'd like to say everyone, irrespective of the political affiliation, irrespective of anything, every Indian salutes the Indian Army for what they've done, for the bravery, for protecting the motherland while others sleep. They are out there. Our salutes to those who are on the panel. There are at least 4 here: General Malik, Colonel Rai, Maruf and G.J. Singh. To all the others, there are countless others who really go out there and they've executed something exceptional. And I think that's what we do. We stand by them. And whatever we can do as civilians, we will certainly keep doing it for them.
Yeah, can I also add to that? That I see today in the words of all the forces personnel serving and retired here, and may I say you missed one person out. because Partha also served in the Indian Army, and he volunteered to join the Indian Army after the 1962 Chinese aggression. So Maruf, the person sitting on your right, is as much a forces personnel, right? We all have our affiliations. I'm proud to come from a forces family and have many members of my family in the forces, and we are so delighted and proud here today that, of what they've done. That sense of pride, that sense of pride is coming forth today.
Am I the only one who has relatives in the Pakistan military?
Well, I mean, you know, I know that your loyalties lie in the right place, but I am delighted today.
So,
the sense of pride is so
Mr.
strong.
Goswami, then, since everyone has drawn a link with the forces in some way or the other, I can't claim that at all. But I can certainly say that when it comes to my senior, which is the ASG Maninder Singh or me in the Supreme Court, we do fight many cases for those forces.
Well, absolutely. We're proud of them. The sense of honor is so absolutely clear, Maruf. I think this is an emotional moment for a lot of people across the country today. I'm sure it is for you also, Maruf. You've served up there. I remember still when you went there and you did a series for us called Line of Duty, and everyone says, you know, Maruf, that you empathize with what they went through, with what the soldiers go through. And these moments are to be celebrated.
Thanks.
All of this country this evening is celebrating. And we are celebrating because we have an opportunity to stand out there and say that our soldiers have made us absolutely proud. I can keep asking questions, Maruf, and so can you. Maruf has been my brother-in-arms in many of these programs over many, many years now. We can ask many questions, Maruf, of the Pakistanis. Tonight, Maruf, we will ask specific questions of the Pakistanis. We will call their bluff. The first question I'm going to ask the Pakistanis are, what do your soldiers do in terror launch pads? That is a question that I want answered. I mean, is a terror launch pad an extension of the Lahore Army Club, Maruf? That's the question which comes to your mind. I'm sure many come to your mind as well, but we'll reserve that for 9 o'clock. What do you say?
Indeed. Indeed.
No, Pakistan is a terror sponsoring state.
Partha, it's been excellent having you on the show so far. Excellent having you on the show so far. And we are going to continue this non-stop coverage. Just want to tell our viewers before we go in, I want to leave a couple of statistics in the viewer's mind. That remember, this has happened after 98 ceasefire violations in 2015 alone. 20 ceasefire violations, DGMO said, along the border. 24 hours alone, 3 ceasefire violations. The Pakistanis were testing us and we have given it back. I'll see you on the other side. Thank you.
ये जो कार्रवाई की है, उरी हल्ले में जो हमारे 18 जवान शहीद हुए हैं, उनको एक प्रकार की श्रद्धांजलि है और भारत को ऐसा ही करना चाहिए. जब ऐसा भारत करेगा तो वो पाकिस्तान वाले जो है वो ऐसी हमारे कश्मीर पर या हमारे सेक्टर पर हमला नहीं करेंगे. भारत को ऐसा करना चाहिए, भारतीय सेना को ऐसा करना चाहिए कि वो दोबारा हम पर हमला न करे.
बहुत ही खुशी है कि जो गवर्नमेंट है उसने ऐसी कार्रवाई की, उनके अंदर तक गए और उनके कैंप्स को तबाह किया. ये पहली गवर्नमेंट है जिसने ऐसा स्टेप उठाया है कि उनको घर में घुस के मारा, उन्हें भी खून के आंसू रुलाए हैं. सिर्फ आज तक हम ही ऐसे इस खून के आंसू रो रहे थे, आज वो भी रोएंगे.
The brave soldiers of the Indian Army went in large numbers, eliminated the terrorists, took on the Pakistani army which tried to defend them. No Indian casualties, successful surgical strike. Viewers, there are 6 implications of this. And the first and most important implication of what has happened today is that we have shown that we can respond militarily to Pakistani aggression at a place and time of our choosing, just as we said we would.